This is a waltz, also called the basic step. It consists of a rotation around the vertical axis of the wheel, while the contact point of the wheel and the floor swings from left to right, approximately from the left foot to right foot and back. Here we can see one of the first exercises. Try to stand with one foot on the exact same spot where the wheel touches the floor. Observe that the hands grasp the wheel in a symmetrical way. The arms are stretched as far forward as possible, thus having the wheel lean forward. Lift up your other foot behind you and try to balance for as long as you can. You can try to master this skill to perfection, but bear in mind that this is only a small part of what will be a more complex motion that is the waltz. Find your direction of rotation. Similar to having a preferred hand or foot, or maybe a preferred direction of tumbling moves, some people have a preferred direction of spinning. You can use this exercise to determine your preference. Keep in mind that preference is only a small puzzle piece. Anyone can learn any direction, and the weight of an acquired habit is much greater than a personal disposition prior to having touched a wheel. So when you live in an environment where most people turn in the same direction, as generally the case with spinning counterclockwise, it might be beneficial to adopt, for the sake of making it easier for your coach or maybe coaching others later on. Also, when performing with more than one person in the same wheel, it's crucial to agree upon a direction of spin. Do you have any experience with spiral motions in a wheel, maybe gym wheel? Pay close attention to your spinning rotation. In order to utilize any of your pre-existing skills, you need to adopt to your established direction of rotation. This means if your first hand touches the ground is your right hand, you need to spin counterclockwise. If your first hand, which touches the ground in a spiral move, is your left hand, you need to spin clockwise. While on the topic of spinning directions, here's a small explanation of the terms leading side and trailing side. If you're spinning in the counterclockwise direction, your left hand and your left foot are on the leading side, and your right hand and your right foot are on the trailing side. Vice versa, if you're spinning clockwise, your left hand and your left foot are on the trailing side, and your right hand and your right foot are on the leading side. For the spin start, place your trailing foot on the very bottom of the wheel. The leading leg reaches behind and across, and the foot touches the ground. Now the gymnast uses the leg to start a rotation. Repeat this several times to get a good understanding of the motion. At first, small steps are sufficient to practice. Your main focus should be continuity and balance. As you are getting more comfortable, you can increase the speed of rotation and the duration your leading foot is off the ground. The next exercise is the skate start. Here you place your hands more than shoulder width apart and the leading foot on the exact opposite side of the wheel as your trailing hand. Now, try to push yourself into a spinning motion off the ground with your trailing foot. Your aim is to spend half a rotation or more with all of your weight on the leading foot and then transferring it back to the ground with your trailing foot, making contact behind you, which brings you back into the same position you started with. Aim of this exercise is to become more and more fluid and repeat the steps without stopping the motion. Don't worry too much about how often you touch the floor. It is very common to start off with a lot of contact and weight on your trailing leg and improving over time. Here's an exercise where the coach can assist in the learning process. The gymnast is in a regular symmetrical position on the wheel. The coach leans the wheel towards herself, supporting it with two hands close to one another. Depending on the size of the wheel, the coach's arms might have to be bent or extended. The gymnast will try to shift his weight left and right to excite a rocking motion. ultimately flipping the wheel over to the other side. The same exercise can be performed starting with the back towards the coach. The same exercise can be performed with the gymnast facing the other way, representing the other half of a full waltz rotation. Pay attention that your body is still behind the wheel. The combination of these two exercises will ultimately lead to an assisted waltz. Be aware that this needs a lot of practice to make this smooth, especially on the coach's part. In this exercise, the gymnast hangs from her arms. The leading foot is in front of the wheel, the trailing foot is behind the wheel. By pushing with leading and trailing foot consecutively, the wheel tips from leaning forward to leaning backwards. Over time, the gymnast should try to initiate a rotation in her preferred direction. The more time the gymnast is able to lift her feet, the closer this motion will be to a regular waltz. Now it's time to play around. You can use all the ways you have learned to start or maintain a waltz in this video. If one is not working well for you, just choose another one until you get more comfortable with the motion. Just bear in mind, a waltz is a complex motion and you will conquer it eventually. Maybe at some point you will find your own way to learn and teach the waltz, and then get back to us at the IRV Academy and tell us about it.